Society Matters.
Hello and welcome to Many Voices, One Community, stories across Long Island and beyond. I'm Gaitley Stevenson-Mathews. I am so very pleased to serve as Community Engagement Officer here at the Holocaust Center. And what a pleasure to be the host of this podcast. And the special pleasure today is that I have my good friend here, Sergeant Kandel, Sergeant Evelyn Kandel, who I often think of. There he is with the salute. I will say Sergeant Kandel, Poet Laureate of Nassau County. I know former Poet Laureate, a teacher, an educator, an elder. I guess once an elder, always an elder in the Presbyterian Church.
Right.
Involved in so many different ways. Of course, the name of this podcast is Many Voices, One Community. And you are one of many creative voices, certainly in this community, with your poetry and also how you express yourself. So I wanted to start a little bit. I want to talk about your poetry.
Okay.
I'd love to talk about your time serving during the Korean War in Washington, D.C. as a Marine, a very proud Marine. Once a Marine, always a Marine.
Exactly.
And I'd also like to just talk about how you got here, how you got to the place. You know, this little girl who grew up in, were you born in Scotland or your mother's from Scotland?
No.
So
My mother
share
was,
the story.
Yes, okay. My mother actually was from England. My father was from Scotland, although he had come to the States as a baby with his parents and was actually born here. He didn't come as a baby, he became a baby here. The mother decided to go back to Scotland so that he grew up in Scotland, served in the service in the Scottish Army. And
because I do remember there was some reason I threw on a kilt and sang Loch Lomond at one of your anniversaries, so there had to be some tie-in, right?
Yes, definitely. Although I was telling the receptionist the story about that my father discovered that he's actually Irish. And
a lot of that happens with DNA these days.
Oh no,
right?
no. He did not accept that. No, that couldn't be. But anyway.
Yeah, so, but your mother was from England, right?
My mother was from England. She was a nurse, and really a lovely person, a really lovely woman. And she unfortunately died when I was very young. And so it was just my father and I, and he was kind of temperamental with a temper. So it was a little rocky. It was during the time of the money problem in the 30s and 40s.
Sure.
And so we moved a lot. And I'm assuming we kept moving from cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. My mother went through, she had some kind of a brain tumor. Probably they didn't know what to do about it. And so it was about 3 years of in and out of hospitals before she died. So that
and this was in England, is that right?
No. This is
here.
all in the States.
Oh, it's all in the States.
All
okay.
in the States.
Okay.
It was at one point for a while I was in a foster home. It was not a formal foster home, but quite honestly, it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Wow.
And so I was there until I was about, I think, 13, and then my father remarried. After my mother died. And so I'll lose thought.
That's okay.
Wait a minute, let me pick my thought. I came across a letter. Dear Dad. I said, Dear Dad. I had no brothers, no sisters, no aunts, no uncles, no nothing in this country. I was going, who is this? Oh, well, turns out he had been married before he had came into the States and married my mother, and this was a daughter. And so I went, oh, okay. So we started.
So you had a stepsister you didn't know about.
I had a stepsister that I didn't know.
Or a half-sister.
A half-sister. Right.
Wow.
So ultimately I did, where are we? Okay, we're out of my childhood.
We're out of your childhood.
Okay.
We talked about you were in kind of an informal foster care situation that was very positive.
Exactly.
And you talked about discovering this half-sister. That's where we are. So we're kind of moving down the line.
Well, into some of the things that probably make me a tiny bit interesting, and that was talking to my foster mother. I had graduated from high school, no money to go anywhere. And I said, was kind of complaining. She said, you know what I would do if I was you? What? Now, this is the 1950s. Women usually graduated from high school and got married and had children.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
She said, I'd join the military and see the world. And it was like, really? Okay, that sounds good. And two of my buddies had graduated and went into the Marines. I said, I'm going to join the Marines. So I joined the Marines.
Well, speaking of the Marines, I found this photograph online, and you knew I had it.
Okay.
So this one, I believe, is one of you when you were first working. Was this in D.C.?
This was in D.C. Yep. I was a clerk typist. All the women were clerk typists.
And this is a Marine, correct?
This is a Marine. That's
right?
my Marine uniform.
I love
But it was
that.
something about an award or something like that. But what happened, which is very flattering, and of course I tell the story all the time, when I was, that was my assigned place to be, I was sitting typing, and I guess he was a photographer. He walked in and he went, I need you. And that was it. I was the model.
That.
I was the women Marine
and
model.
Speaking of model, I'm going to pull up. May I pull up another picture?
Sure.
Where you hate me. So here is the other one. So this was a poster that was all over.
Right in the middle of New York,
Madison
Square Garden.
Wow.
Or someplace. Yes.
Right. And as I understand, so this poster was created to encourage women to go into the military. Right. And now I just absolutely love this. And you're a beautiful woman now, and you were a beautiful woman
thank
then.
you.
And I just love that. And now, as I understand, this also led to something else, did it not?
Yes.
I'm working our way up to the postage stamp.
Okay.
So unless I'm missing something there.
No. I'm trying to think exactly when that happened. But it probably happened while we were in Washington, D.C., so that there were women soldiers in the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and the Marines there. And so it was decided to try, there was a great deal of feeling against women in the service, just as there still are women who think there shouldn't be women unless they're with 5 kids at home. But so this stamp was coming out, and it had to travel all the way up to the president, I understand, to okay putting 4 women on a stamp.
So this is what I want you to do. So this right here, I'm showing this to people who actually watch this, but this is the stamp. And this is a postcard, and the stamp is actually in this corner.
It's
correct?
The first day of issue. That's right.
First day of issue.
Mm-hmm.
And there are 4 women on the stamp, and you are one of them. So
Exactly.
you were the model for it.
Yep.
And which one are you?
I'm the one on the far left.
The one on the far left. Okay,
Yep.
so that would be this one right here.
Right.
Correct? Okay.
And the one, which is actually the photograph to the left, I'm
Oh,
the one up
photograph
at
to
the top.
left. The one on the very top. And I can see that because we got this right here. So I absolutely love that. And now, so I was just talking to Father Papadopoulos, who was here earlier, and I think there were, I forgot how many popes he met. And I said, well, that's really very, very impressive. And I said, well, my next buddy is on a postage stamp. So.
I know, it's so funny. It's like, I was 18 when I joined the service. What did I know? I didn't know the Korean War, what was happening, other than when I was moved up to be a sergeant, which was temporary. I see they put well, don't give it to her, give it to her. Just, I went out to the West Coast on recruiting duty, and a woman lieutenant and I traveled around the West Coast talking to young women who were graduating. And first of all, had never been any place, grew up in Westchester County. What did I know? When my father said, New York City is the largest. He used some terminology that I thought, it must be the biggest thing in the world. No, it would just mean it was closest to where we lived. But
Right.
so that was, that's
Right. So there's one other picture I want to share, and that is, I want to talk about it first, and then I'll share the photograph.
Okay.
And you can correct me if I'm wrong. And I am coming from the perspective, this past Tuesday in Port Washington, we just, through the Tribune and Honor Foundation, gave
Right,
some
right.
scholarships to young people, and two of them were women, and one of them a woman, Marine,
Great.
very capable, so sharp. And these young people, it's exciting to see.
Wow.
So, yes, there are still strides to be made, but what a different world today
Oh, yes. Oh,
than
yes.
it was when you came up through the ranks in
Exactly.
the military. And Charisse Herrera is who I'm going to talk about. In fact, but I want to talk about it first because as I remember when I spoke to you, because we were going to an event, and I've had the honor of honoring you at an event or two.
Right.
But as I remember going to an event, you wore these beautiful dress blues.
Oh, yeah.
And what I remember the story is that during the Korean War, you all had uniforms.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly the men had dress blue uniforms, but the women did not, correct?
That's right.
In other words, the value of a woman in the military did not warrant
That's
spending the money to have dress blue. So how did it come about? Now I'm going to show it because I love this one of you two, our good buddy Charisse and you. And this was at an event by Heroes Among Us,
Right,
Virginia. Oh, pardon, Virginia Servacio. This was at an event at Virginia Servacio that
Right.
she organized through Heroes
Right,
Among Us.
right.
And what a great organization. But here's that picture. Here's that picture of the two of you. I just love it, the smiles, and I just love that look.
I
And
love
it's
her.
just,
She's wonderful.
yeah,
She
you-
is so wonderful.
Yeah, I told her we'll send it. I just texted her, and she said, say hello, and she said, I love you. So it was exactly the same thing. And the thing that I saw in Charisse, and I see in so many of the women who come up in the military, is the sense of gratitude.
Yeah.
For people like you.
Yeah,
For
that's
people
right.
like you. You may have just thought, okay, that's what I'll do.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
There had to be trailblazers.
Yes. And the Women's the Women's Military Museum in Washington, D.C. has handed me the title of a Legion, Woman of Legion, because of the fact that I was a very early one and that
Right.
I was in recruiting and so on. Very nice.
Well
Very
deserved,
nice.
well deserved. And I just love that uniform. And that uniform, how did you come to have your dress blues?
Well, I don't even know who pointed me out, but I went on an honor flight, which is a flight from wherever. I'm talking about Long Island, but it's all over the country.
Right, sure.
Where they fly veterans to Washington, D.C., you spend the day, you go to your monument, and so on, and you have lunch and you have
incredible,
dinner.
yes.
It's really so nice. But they did not go to the Women's Museum because it's really over the bridge
Right.
to where actually the commandant's office is and the cemetery. So that was very disappointing. But I met, because I was on the honor flight, I met some people who were on the board, and this one man.
Is it Fred?
No, not
No,
Fred.
not-
Not Fred.
Yeah.
It was, and I'm going to.
Bill?
Yes, Bill.
Bill, okay,
Bill, yes.
okay. I know honor flight, yep.
Who said could he interview me? And I said, okay. So he interviewed me, and he said, about halfway through, he said, "You're so verbal." And I thought, what did he think? I was going to, So he kind of decided I was a good catch to, and so he said, "I want you to be the face of a fundraiser for the honor flights." And I said, "Well, I'd be very happy to be, but wear your uniform, your dress uniform." I said, "I don't have dress blues." "You don't have dress
Wow.
blues?" I said, "No, what I had was a dark blue jacket and skirt, white and a
Right.
tie. That was the dress
Right.
for in those days." oh, well, we'll take care of that.
Beautiful, beautiful. So giant shout out to Honor Flight Long Island.
That's
and
right.
Honor Flight along our nation. My brother has done, my brother's a retired colonel, and his wife's also military. And I believe Hunter has done it. I'm not sure, but I do know it's a great, I'm almost certain they have.
It's a wonderful thing. It's really great.
I wanted to then kind of segue, because here you are. I think of a Marine, and you are all those things. You're one tough lady. I know that.
I do want to, if I may just say what the government did for me when I left the Marines. They said, hey, how about a college education? Okay. And they paid for it. Right. That was it.
And in your life after the service, I know, again, we've talked about many things, one of those being poet laureate. I know you taught for many years.
Right.
And I believe you brought a poem. Do you mind sharing one of those poems? And then I want to talk about how does a female Marine then become a poet? So why don't you share that?
It absolutely could not go together. It absolutely could not.
But I love that.
This is just a teeny little book of small poems that I came across. And here's a little one of mine. Best used before expiration date. Things are thought of but not done, put off until another day, until one day, last day, life's poured out, wasn't used soon enough before the expiration date.
I love that.
A little irony.
Oh, I love that. And as I know, because we've known each other a long time now.
Yeah.
Just full disclosure, we're both elders in the Presbyterian Church. I certainly know your poetry, know you through veteran contacts. You're my neighbor, among other things.
That's right.
Here in Glen Cove. So how does, and also I know you were an art teacher. I've seen your art. I've seen your 9/11 sculpture that you did, which was just so beautiful.
Yeah.
How does, so you're coming out of the military. Where does it come to you that I should write? I should be a poet?
That didn't come first. I had been always through high school and everything, drawing, painting. That was that, and I wanting to be an actress, but I never made that. But I was very used to doing art. And so, also then I met the criteria. I graduated from college, and I got married.
Okay, there you go. Yes.
There you go. So I was doing, some jobs and so forth. My husband, unfortunately, my first husband died very, very soon. We talked about, he was working for a company, and we decided, let's hold off with a family. Okay, that'll be fine. I got pregnant on my honeymoon.
Wow.
And I thank God that happened.
Yeah.
So that's my daughter, Diane.
Yeah, Diane. Oh, wow.
Right.
Yeah.
But, now I've slipped off.
That's okay, Diane. And so that was your first husband who passed away. And
right.
And talking
my second husband was waiting in the wings to just be very good and very wonderful. And, I did marry again.
Was a good friend.
So all of that time, basically, I was really working very hard as a painter and exhibiting and selling my work. And then I went back to school and got my master's in art education. And that's when I think I was 50, and I went to teach. And I taught at a private school, Portledge, and until I retired. Then that.
Right.
I was given, something came over my desk there at Portledge, and it was saying, advertising that as an art teacher, you could apply for a scholarship in a summer, a month or 2 months. You had to submit what you would do and what your theme would be. It took me 3 times to do it. And then finally I said, well, I've done this 2 times before. So I was accepted.
Oh, nice.
So while I was there, you have all this wonderful time. You're in the studio at 9 and you're out at 5. That's a lot of time to spend.
Right. With no cell phone as a
No
distraction.
cell phone, exactly.
Right.
So I experimented with mask making, with sculptures, and I started to do these little a little paper sculpture. And then I said, started to write
Right.
a couple of words, then a few more words. And the next thing you know, I was writing poems and put in these little sculptures. And so there was a little flip.
Right.
And I went back to school, took some courses in how do you write poetry. And here I am.
And as I understand, you are a mentor. You have a poetry group that you lead. Is that correct?
I certainly do. I have, right now, I have 13 students, all adults, many of them all pretty much retired, teachers, therapists, you know it. I have a 100-year-old man still writing and a 102-year-old woman who's still producing. It's a great group. And when COVID hit, that's when I was poet laureate. And they said, no, you can't talk here, you can't go here. We decided we would Zoom. So we've kept that. When we could go back to being in person, actually Zooming is great. Because here you've got everybody's face in front of you, and you don't have to go out in the rain and snow.
We all learned how to negotiate it and developed skills. In my voice and speech work, originally, I thought I never want to do it online. But you learn and you adapt.
It's great.
And it certainly is quite a commodity and a nice way to do it. So the name of our show, so we're kind of coming near the end here. So the name of the show is Many Voices, One Community. And I like to drive home how we impact the world and how we make a difference, and hopefully make the world a better place through our work, through our own ripple in the water, if you will. And I think, from being a woman Marine at a time when it really didn't happen so much,
right,
to your poetry, to your art,
right.
How from your perspective, has that made a difference, and what drives you?
People say I'm always busy, and then I go, what am I doing? Well, the teaching is you give and you receive. I mean, this is a group of very talented people, many of them very funny. I appreciate humor. At the senior center, when they celebrate birthdays, they ask, well, what do you give, as your guide, or, what do you think is most important? And I always say humor. I said, to me, a smile is the most important thing. And I don't mean it in a silly way. And I have always felt that saved me. Because there were times growing up that it was not a good time for me. And learning to, I guess it happened in junior high school, learning, crack a joke, big smile,
right.
And after a while, it becomes part of your personality. Right. It's interesting. I'm not selling it, but I just want to mention, since both of us, our church has disappeared. It is closed.
Right.
And so I looked to see where did I belong anywhere. And I've wound up at the Unitarian congregation because their whole thing is love, giving to others, receiving, and giving back. And it's now. It's not what happened before. Even though every religion is recognized there, it fit me. It fit me.
Well, interestingly, on two fronts. One of those, Christine Rice, so of course the executive director of the Senior Center. I'm going to have her on the show next week.
Right.
And she said, I spoke to Evelyn. She's so excited to be on the podcast. But again, just what a great place for creativity there.
Yes.
But then also an earlier podcast, I had Father Papadopoulos, who many call Father P, and it was kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
And finding, what is it in all of our faiths, all of our different backgrounds, whatever our walk of life, whatever our religion, whether you're really not into religion at all, or however you approach this world. I think it's so important, finding that common thread, the thing that is so important in our families and in our lives. And oh my gosh, I wish I want to go back and see my own podcast again, because Father Papadopoulos talked about, the expression was the grass is greener on the other side.
Yeah.
He said the grass is greener where you water it. I love that. And,
right.
Father P, if I'm paraphrasing here, my apology. But again, that's that whole same theme.
Well,
Lift it up, find the good, find the opportunity.
Exactly. I have 3 children, and I have 4 grandsons. I had a daughter with my first marriage. After that, it was men only. So my oldest grandson is getting married in
So
October.
the life cycle continues.
It
I love
does.
that.
It does. They're good people. They worry about me sometimes to the extent I have to stamp my feet. I'm not going to do it. Mom, I don't think you should be driving. I am driving. Leave me alone. But
I'm sure it goes on.
Yeah.
So, Evelyn, I just want to say how great it has been to have you here today.
thank
Sergeant Kandel. Oh,
Thank
wait.
you.
Where did I have to grab my phone? See my phone?
I don't know.
Here we go. I'm going to do a selfie.
Oh, okay.
And we're going to send it to Charisse. Okay, so look this way. This is how we're going to wrap it up. There we go. And
Great.
that's it for Many Voices, One Community here at the Holocaust Memorial and Tolerance Center, HMTV. Thank you so much for joining us. And look for all of our podcasts and the other terrific podcasts at HMTV. Thank you so very much.